Twitch, Periscope, thank you for joining yet another episode of Cipher Knowledge with Chrissy. We have a phenomenal show tonight. But before we get to the guest and what we will be talking about, I just wanted to remind you guys that coming January 2021, all 2M1L Media podcasts will be exclusively on YouTube. So that is Cipher Knowledge with Chrissy. That is your Around the Turnbuckle, your home team sports and entertainment, and Spitting with Spitter. All of that is going to be exclusively on YouTube. So make sure you head over to 2M1L Media on YouTube. Subscribe, like, hit the notification button so that you know when we're going live and you don't miss any of our shows. All right. So I am going to get to the comments really quick. We got a hello, hello. Hello. Hey, Alan. Thanks for watching. Yeah, the belt, Mr. Art Daily Magic. All right. Hey, Emma. How you doing? Thanks for joining and tuning in. All right. So on that note, I'm going to go ahead and get over to what our show is about this evening. And we are going to be talking about single fatherhood. And we have some extraordinary men on this show this evening that is willing to tell us their stories. So I would like to go around the room, have them introduce themselves. And this evening, I would like to introduce Gordo. Please tell everybody who you are and what it's about.
My name is Gordo. 32 years old. I'm a single father of two boys, one 5-year-old. His name is Jonathan Jr. And then I got my second child, who's 3 years old. His name is King. I've been a single parent for the past 9 months now. Going on 9 months with just me and the boys. Hardworking man, trying to provide for these kids and show them that daddy's here to stay, that he's not going nowhere no time soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. All right. Some of you may know Dwayne as he's been on Cipher Knowledge before, but I'd like him to go ahead and reintroduce himself. My name is no, go ahead.
I'm C. Dwayne Hennett, author of The Ripple Effect, The Lasting Effects of Domestic Violence. I'm a father of 5, 3 girls, 2 boys. I've been a single father before. I'm married now. This is which I tell a lot, this is my 4th marriage. I'm also an advocate for domestic violence and co-chair of a nonprofit for domestic violence as well.
Awesome. And now we'll move down to Mr. Dow. Introduce yourself. Tell us what it is.
Hey, what's up, everyone? My name is Dell. I have a business called True Essence Connection, in which I help individuals go from the inner conflict in their mind to inner peace in their heart. I am a father of 1. He's a boy, Jaden, 9 years old. I am married to my beautiful wife who's on here, but I do have a great co-parent relationship with my son's mother from a previous relationship, and can't wait to get into it.
Awesome. Thank you for being on. And now we're going to take it over to John. John, tell us who you are and what it is.
Good evening, all. I'm John. I'm out of the D.C., Maryland area. I'm a father of 3 kids, 2 twin boys, 17 years old, set to be 18 next Friday, and a 10-year-old daughter. I currently co-parent with 2 lovely women of my kids. I'm also an IT professional that just happens to do philanthropy. That's pretty much it.
Tell us about your network. Don't you have a network? Don't you do some podcasting yourself?
Oh, well, yeah. I don't want to, but yeah.
Come on.
Since you mentioned it, yeah, I do have a production network called Deja Productions. Then I currently record podcasts. I stream sporting events, and I actually record movies as well. So yeah, Deja Productions. Check me out on Facebook, Deja Productions.
Listen, I am all about giving love, showing love, spreading love. Like, I don't keep nothing. Like, this is, there's so many podcasts out there. There is no reason why we can't show love and share each other's stuff for the mere fact that, there's 24 hours in a day. They could listen to all of us, right?
Absolutely.
So I'm all about that love. All right. So I got a set of questions, but of course, you guys that are watching out there, chime in at any time that you want to ask a question. This is going to be informational by them sharing their experiences and insight. And if you need to know something, chime in, check in, let us know. So I'm gonna throw the question out here, and I'm gonna let it flow the way it flows. So whoever start speaking first. There's no order. There's nothing like that. We just gotta do it. But we got, strong black men showing love. Yep, absolutely. All
Spanish.
right. So listen, bro. You Afro Latino. Let's not even
Nah,
go. That's a whole nother episode. All right. All right. So the first question is, because I think it's an important question. I thought about it. And I wanted to know how your relationship started with your children's mother. Were they the wife? Were they the girlfriend? Were they a jump off? Were they a side piece? What type of relationship was this? That you started out with your children's mother. So who wants to go first? Who wants to take this
I'll,
question?
I'll
All
go
right,
first.
go ahead.
So with my children's mother, I knew her prior to even us dating. So I knew her 10 years. We wanted to try to work it out the first time, but at that time, I was basically in the streets a lot. You know what I mean? Like I was in and out of jail, so it wasn't going to work either way. I mean, I was 18 years old, and I told her straight up that it's not going to work now. If it happens, it happens later on down the road. Luckily, 10 years later, you know what I mean? We resurfaced again, and she was getting out of a relationship, and then she started dealing with me. So when she started dealing with me, we were just starting off as friends with benefits, and then that turned into a pregnancy. And then when that pregnancy happened, she thought I was just going to run away, but I kind of told her, like, no, I'm going to stay. So I'm going to just stop doing my illegal activities and, you know what I mean, start this family and turn my life around off a child. So I kind of felt like, all right, since I know you for this long, everything is going to work out. But, you know what I mean, everything happens for a reason. So, you know what I mean? It's a learning experience. You know what I'm saying? You think you know somebody for a long time, and then, you know what I mean, something tragic happens, and then you don't even know the person anymore. So it's a totally different person that you've seen for so long. You know what I mean? But that's my little perspective of my
All
situation.
right. So we got a friends with benefits, and then baby kid. So the reason I asked this question, y'all find out after everybody answers. I have my little spiel on why I was asking this question. So Dwayne, you want to go next?
Sure. So, my first, well, I have, like I said, I've been married 4 times. I only have kids with 2 of my wives. My first wife was actually my high school sweetheart. We were together for about from 10th grade probably until we got married at age 21. Then we were married for about 7 years. Came 2 kids, a boy and a girl. After 7 years, we divorced. I married, 2 other times with women who I didn't have any kids with, and then the last one I married. This one we met online, and we dated, and we decided to get married. We dated, lived together, and then we decided to get married. Then we have a son who's now 5, and like I said, I've been a single dad before, so.
All right. All right. And Dal, let's go to you. Get yourself off of mute.
Yeah. So I met my son's mother back in high school, and it was at vocational school. We were like not been like friends, but we would say hi to each other. High school, I was a shy person, so I never really like approached a girl or that type of thing. But then what happened was in 2010, this was probably like a couple months right after I got out of a breakup. She hit me up on Facebook, so she slid in my DMs and said, "What's up? How things are going?" We caught up. We decided to let's go chill and see what happens. And from there, got into a relationship, started living with each other. She had a daughter from a previous relationship as well. And then it just finally came to a point like, hey, her daughter was like lonely, and it was like, hey, want to make a baby? That's how the conversation was. So then we tried it, and my son got made.
There you go. Well, you didn't try it. You know how he got made. We don't need that science lesson, right?
Yeah, we called the stork up. The stork came and got him.
Oh, that's how it happened. All right.
Yeah.
Like, tell the stork, don't come knocking on my door. All right, we're gonna head over to you, John. What's your story?
So my story is, of course, I co-parent with two mothers. So my son's mother, my twin's mother, I met her at a party down here that we call a go-go. Pretty much where music is played and
I know it.
Okay. I got to go all into that. So yeah, I actually met her there, and what drew me to her was that she carried so many similar qualities of my mother. Like she worked in the school board, my mother worked in the school board, so I was automatically attracted to her. So of course, out within that, we had twin boys. I was super excited when I found out that she was pregnant, and I couldn't be more happier. So my daughter's mother, I met her while we were at work. She was working in the banking, and I was doing IT in the building, and we kind of like just noticed each other and kind of like took it from there. And 2 years later, we had us a beautiful, lovely daughter.
Awesome. So the reason why I asked this question is because I think it's important, right? So we've got all different aspects. We've got marriage, child was conceived in marriage, child was conceived in relationship, child was conceived as a friends with benefits situation. And I just wanted, because people can say so many different things. They could be like, well, you got to watch who you have a child with. Yes. And that's true, right? You definitely need to know who you're laying down with and what the situation is. But that's not always the case. Like my son, I had with my husband, my ex-husband at the time, right? And I thought we were going to be together forever. And situations just happen and they occur. And there's nothing you can do about that because it is what it is. You can try to work the best you can, but sometimes it just doesn't come out that way. So no matter what type of relationship you're in, I think it's important to understand, recognize, and have those conversations about children, right? About like, what are we gonna do? Or if an unexpected, or I say a beautiful surprise happens, or are you planning to have this child? Or I remember when I got pregnant with my second son and I went in for my OB appointment and she was like, well, was he planned? And I was like, no, he wasn't planned. And she was like, were you using birth control? No. Did you use a condom? No. Did you anything? And I was like, no. She was like, well, then he was planned. So for everybody out there watching, if you're not taking your precautions, it's a planned pregnancy, brother. All right. you know, definitely. So that was where I wanted to kind of go with all of that and just show you that it doesn't matter the situation. These situations can arise, but also be very mindful of the person that you lay with. And if you're not ready to be a father or a mother, then you have to be responsible for those actions, right? Because then at the end of the day, there's this human being that we need to care for and co-parent. And sometimes that's not what ends up happening. And that's what we're going to get into. But I have this comment here from Alan. So we're going to see what he says. He said, when my son's mother and I first split up, took us over 10 years to get along. Has anyone here had similar difficulty, and what did you do to overcome it? What could you do to help the process quicker for the kids? So we're going to get into that. We're going to, Dell, I know you ready. I know you ready. But we're going to get there. We're going to get there, Alice. So keep watching, all right? So I guess I kind of almost answered the question, but this is a two-part question. And whoever wants to take this, because you guys kind of answered it beforehand, but were the pregnancies planned or were they a beautiful surprise? And how did you feel when you found out you were going to be a dad? Like, what were those emotions like? So who wants to jump in?
I take it. So I've always wanted to have kids. I always kind of like look forward to being a parent. Of course, when you're young, you're just not old enough. But I knew that whenever I came across that bridge, then I would be super excited because I just feel like that I have so much to give to my child. What I'm saying, to help nurture them and bring them up, and it's just something that I was really looking forward to. And when she pulled up on me and showed me that sonogram with those two eggs and like you having twins, I was like, oh, like shit just got real. Like it just got really real at that point. And I was like, hey, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? He blessed me with, so I'm gonna take care of too. So I was super excited when I found that out. So was it planned? I mean, like you said, if you're not using protection or taking birth control, then I guess it's planned.
That's what the doctors told me.
And like you can't be silly about it. Like you know what you're doing. You're smart enough to know that if you do this, do that, and it covers these actions, you know what can happen. So no, but
Absolutely.
I wasn't surprised. I wasn't surprised.
No. Yeah, and when it was so funny because when I got pregnant with my second one, after the deed was done, he looked over at me. He said, "So what you want to name him?" Like we
He already knew.
already knew.
He already knew.
Like,
He was already on his way up to the end.
in transmission.
Yeah.
Who wants to take this next?
I'll go next.
All right, go ahead. Talk to me.
So my first child was planned. Um, he was planned as far as we wanted to have kids together. And after he was born, he was actually sent to the neonatal ward in Greenville, North Carolina. He was born, but he was born with where he couldn't hardly breathe. So for 6 months, me and her were in the neonatal ward, and we had gotten out of the neonatal ward. And the first day, I think it was the first day that we have no, it was either 6 or 7 months. The first day that we had gotten out, we had took the baby home. We were free from staying there, and she said that she felt like she was sick. So she went and got a pregnancy test and found out that my second child was conceived at the house that we were staying in. So she was pregnant while we were still taking care of a baby that was still in Pampers.
So you ain't wait for 6 weeks? I don't know when you do the math, but go ahead.
Here's the thing. The doctor told her, and this is a myth for everybody. If anybody ever heard this, the doctor told us that look, as long as she was breastfeeding, it was a form of birth control. So
that's a lie.
that is a bold-faced lie, and I'm here to tell everybody and anybody that is a bold-faced lie. I was shocked and surprised, but I was a little bit taken back because we had just, like I said, we had just like seen so many kids in the neonatal ward. We had actually seen a baby die in front of us. We had seen a baby that was about the size of your hand. That literally he was the size of his father's hand. And once we got our son out, we were so overwhelmed with him being, just being healthy that we weren't expecting, to be, pregnant again. So it was a little overwhelming for us because we had two kids. We had one and then one on the way. So that, like I said, that one, the second, my daughter wasn't planned. Now, like I said, I've been married 2 other times. I married older women who who weren't able to have kids. My last wife, who I married, we were around the same age, but we're still, later in our ages. I was actually shocked by the fact that she could still have kids. So we had a conversation. I was like, "You still can have kids?" She was like, "Yeah." She was like, "There's nothing wrong." I was like, "Well, I date. I've always dated women." So I was just like, I was assuming when I shouldn't have assumed in the first place. But we had a conversation. So the last one was definitely planned, even though she denied it. I kept telling her that she was pregnant, and she kept denying it. And turns out I was right. This guy's right.
Yep. So before we move on, I want to get to this comment real quick. And Gwendolyn says, okay, So I married the father of all my children, but after 34 years, we divorced. The kids were grown. So does that make me a single mother? I mean, you are a parent for life, right? So you are a parent for life. That would make you a single mother of grown children, but you no longer have to parent them. So there's no real co-parenting issues if they're past the adult, right? If they're past that age of 18. So I don't know if you wanted more, like if you were asking a different type of question than that, but when you're no longer married and you're raising children, you're a single mother. But if you're not raising children, you're a mother, right? I don't know. Does that make sense? Do you agree? Disagree, guys?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right, but
I agree.
I want to say something right quick. I want to dispel the notion about single parents and single, because I think myself, I think it's offensive for other real single mothers that don't have any involvement with their other person that they had a child with, and then for somebody who's co-parenting and to say that they're a single parent or a single mother.
Absolutely.
That's something that's totally different. You actually have help. You actually have another parent that that can pick up your child,
Rely on.
that pays for stuff, versus someone who's not in their child's life at all, and that parent is totally a single parent, totally. So I when I came up here, I did want to dispel that myth, or that notion that you're a single parent just because you aren't together with your other parent.
Right. Right. Well, so I don't know. So the word single, right, is what we define and we put on our tax return, right? Single, married, or that's it. Single, married, or head of household are pretty much your options, right? Um, so when we define it like that, if you're not married, you're single, right?
Mm-hmm.
But as far as co-parenting and parenting alone, that's like a subdivision, right? Because single is the title of your relationship, right? Your relationship status. Uh, doing it alone and parenting alone is different than the co-parenting, because you can still co-parent and co-parent effectively, but the mom still may be doing most of the work, right? So like I co-parented, co-parent effectively with my second son's my first son's father, but he co-parent from a distance. He's in New York, I'm in New Jersey, and I basically still the doctor's appointments. The he's getting called out of school sick. He needs to go to the hospital. Like I still have to do that. The food shopping, the clothes shopping, the ear appointment, the eye appointment. Like I was still doing that alone, but we were co-parenting and co-parenting effectively. He was there. So what is that?
You are
With the
you
way
are
I see your
So,
face.
you are a parent. You are a co-parent. You're
yeah,
not. You're a co-parent.
yeah.
Go
Like I
ahead,
said,
John.
I've dated and I've married single parents who were single women. They didn't have another parent that was in their child's life. Like their father was totally out of their life. One was in jail. One just was absent altogether. Paid no money. Did anything? No doctor's visits. No. I was the one who stepped in, and I was a step parent, but I was stepping in as a parent for them. Those are the ones who are truly single parents because they don't have any other parent that's around. Um,
So I have an issue when it comes down to the verbiage being used. A co-parent, like we need to stop adding so many branches onto the tree of co-parenting. It's either you're co-parenting or you're single. You know what I'm saying? So when it's not about who's doing more. It's about is the child being taken care of, because sometimes the other parent had to take up the slack for the other parent because they may be like anything can happen at any particular time. So it's been instances where my visitation has had to go for num a number of days because maybe the mom's out of town, or maybe the mom is sick and I don't want the kids around her. So instead of the normal Wednesday to Sunday, I may have to keep them for a whole 2 weeks. But those are the dynamics that you run into when you co-parent. So we got to just stop adding so many branches onto it. Like co-parenting is just that. You co-parent. You know what I'm saying? Now,
Whatever the circumstances.
yeah, because I mean, when you give it too many arms, everybody can grab onto the branch that applies to them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be different. It's going to be different for everybody. But when you just use the word co-parent, do you and the kid's father or mother, do y'all communicate effectively? Yes, we do. Do you not allow the kids to manipulate the situations between the two parents? Yes, we do. Do the kids be on the same punishment at the dad's house at the mom's house? Yes, they do. So that is right there to me an effective co-parenting environment.
Yes, and I will say that if I called him because my son is a type 1 diabetic, so if I called him and was like, "Yo, he's in the hospital," he
Yeah,
got up, got in the car, and drove right over. So that
exactly.
he was there. If I called him and said, "Yo, your son got in trouble. I need half the money for the lawyer," he was like,
Exactly.
"Boom, it's in your account." Like, you
Exactly.
know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, so he definitely helped me with that. Now, my ex-husband signed the papers and walked away. So when he divorced me, he divorced my kid. Like, he's non-existent.
He made a
So
decision. He made a
yeah,
decision. I feel sorry for
he
him.
yeah. So he definitely. But we're gonna go ahead and go to Dell and ask. We'll just ask. How did you feel when you found out you were gonna be a dad?
Excited as fuck. So it was a combination. It was planned, like we were planning to have a kid, but then it was a surprise when I did have it. And full disclosure, at the time I found out that I was about to be a dad, I was surprised because I had an intent, because at that time we were trying for a couple months to try to have a kid and it didn't happen. So I was like, okay, all right, that's it. All right, I guess it's not meant to be. But during that time, her and I, we were bickering a lot, like going at each other, arguments and stuff. So the relationship was at like a turmoil around that time. And honestly, for me, I was at the point like, yo, I'm about to just break up with her and be done with this. And it was a crazy thing. The day that I was about to do that, I came into the house to like do it. But then she told me like, oh, check your pillow, check underneath your pillow. I was like, check underneath my pillow for what? And then I looked underneath my pillow and she put a diaper, which was like the funny thing. I was like, oh shit, like for real? So then like the excitement for like finding out, oh shit, I'm about to be a kid, I'm about to be a dad, I'm about to be a dad. So that at that time it took over from the fact of me like, yo, this relationship isn't working. I wanted like us to be happy, but then like that part I was like, oh, this bundle of joy, hopefully it can be the thing that helps our relationship to flourish now, because we're co-creating this beautiful being that's coming into the world.
Right. Right. What about you, Gordo? How did you
Um,
feel?
when I first found out, I mean, I was in shock. You know what I'm saying? It just came out of nowhere. It was a hot summer day. You know what I mean? I'm a big guy, and when she told me the news, I kind of looked at her like we had like that awkward stare, like, all right, what's next? And then like I don't know, for some reason I feel like my life flashed. You know what I mean, for a quick second, because I grew up fatherless. You know what I'm saying? I grew up in a broken home. I grew up with a mother and two older sisters that they're not in relationships with their fathers. I mean, with their kids' fathers either. So you know what I mean. I always told myself if I ever had kids, that I will be the best father that I wish I had growing up, that I never had. So I always figured if it was a boy or a girl, I'm gonna be there for that kid for the rest of their lives. You know what I mean? I'm gonna be number one dad. Anybody that really knows me, I always took care of my nieces and nephews. So like I was somewhat of a father role figure to my nieces and nephews. So it was always going to be a breeze to raise a kid, because I've been doing it since my nieces and nephews were in diapers. So you know what I mean. It was nothing new to me. You know what I mean. But for my second son, it was kind of a unexpected situation, because with my first son, her pregnancy was she was high risk. You know what I mean? So it was like we didn't know if the baby was going to even make it. My second child, we didn't know if he was going to make it, and then he was premature, and then he was in NICU as well. So that was another scary situation, because the doctor told us that he might not even live. You know what I mean? Past the first couple hours. That's why I named him King, because you know what I mean, he's a survivor, and he is who he is. But you know what I mean, everybody's good now.
There you go. I do want to get back to Alan's question because we're kind of heading in this direction, right? So I want to get back to his. Has anyone here had similar difficulty, and what did you do to overcome it? And what could you do to help the process quicker for the kids? So I'm gonna go to you, Del, first.
Okay. So yeah, well, I'm trying to figure out how to say this in like a good way. So, so yeah, I definitely could hear where you're coming from. My son's mother and we had a pretty turmoil breakup. I mean, it happened, but it was like leading up. We were arguing, then we'll make up, argue, but then it finally came to a point where she just said like, "Get your shit and get the fuck out of my house." So I was like, all right, cool. So I got the stuff, I packed it, but even during that time of us doing that, we were still like talking, trying to make things work and stuff. But then certain things happened that really sparked some emotions out of me. And the way that I was able to really start to make a complete 180 with the whole situation and actually come to a space with my son's mother where I can just say like I love her and I'm grateful that she's in my life was one number one thing was accepting what is happening right now or what happened, which is the fact like my son's mother and I were no longer together. That's it. It's there's a point of it happening. And also acceptance of like I can still be in my son's life and not be in a relationship. It took me a while to get into that point because when the breakup happened and like somebody breaking up with me, my ego got hurt. And there's a lot of people out there who egoic. And when your ego gets hurt, you get petty, you get upset. And me, like when I got hurt and I got petty, I was very emotional about it and did things then that like now I'm like, I know I did it because I did it out of being hurt. But it took me going to therapy, having a space talking to a therapist to really talk about what I'm going through, being processed in a space that I know I'm not going to be judged for it. Because talking to some other people about what's going on with you, especially a man, they're gonna might call you soft and all this other stuff. So having a space to really just open up for what's really happening with you. But then two, I asked myself, how did I show up in this relationship to get it to like how it happened in this way? First, I was like, yeah, she's doing this, doing that, and this, like pointing fingers, like, yeah, yeah, yeah. But then really I asked myself, like, what did I do? And how was I showing up in a relationship? And I actually took an honest look and like, shit, I left a blazing trail in that relationship. And also I showed up in a way that like, yeah, if I was her, I would dump my ass a long time ago. So accepting the fact of how I was showing up and also accepting the fact like the relationship we were two people in the process of loving each or trying to find out more about ourselves and trying to love ourselves more, but then like two people who stepped in a relationship dealing with shit that happened before even coming to a relationship that hasn't got addressed. And the relationships are just a mirror. It just showcases to you the shit in you that you need to like sit with or it's going to keep showing up in a relationship. So that getting therapy, talking about it, and then it came to a point of forgiveness for everything that happened, forgiveness for her, and the number one thing is forgiveness for myself. Because once I became ownership to myself and like, yeah, I was an asshole. I was an asshole at times.
Not
Yeah.
too many guys look at that and say take accountability. I think a lot of people don't like to take accountability for their mistakes or where they went wrong, right? They want to always blame it on the other person. I always say that you have to hear. So, when I was in the dating world and everything, I would and met a guy who had children and wasn't with their mother. And as soon as they would start bashing the mother, I would be like, stop right there. Let's look at this, right? Let's look at the situation. Could you have handled it differently? Are you sure some of the things you didn't do was out of spite? I'm sure a lot of the things she did was out of spite. I can guarantee you that. But someone at some point has to say, here's the breaks, these are the breaks, right? And kind of change that situation for the betterment of the child
I agree.
versus we're both going to be petty McPetty, petty Miss Petty, right? We need to stop that so that the children, and sometimes you have to be the one even though it kills you to do it, but you have to be the one. So John, talk to me. Were your situations amicable, or were there some tensions that you had to work on, and if so, how did you work that out?
When we split, on the way out the door, I had already formulated in my head that nothing was going to keep me away from my kids. So I had a conversation with a longtime friend of mine, and they had gained custody of his daughter when she was real young, and he told me something that I'll never ever forget. He said, "You know that nobody has custody of the kid until the court decides that."
Yep.
Said, I said, I never knew that. You know what I'm saying? You automatically think that the mother has custody of the kid. So when I found that out, that was like him handing me the baton, and I took off with it. So with that, the first thing that I tell guys when I encounter them in situations like this, I tell them, look, first thing you got to do is educate yourself about the laws in your state and your county about how custody stuff works. And I said, it's okay for you to go down to the court and file papers as a man. It may not seem normal because of what society has taught us. Men don't usually do stuff like that, but you have every right, just as much as the mother, to go down to the court and file papers for custody of your kid. So that's what I did. And of course, the women, I like to say, they get special treatment in the courts.
Oh, yes.
Well,
They
we're gonna talk to Goldo about that, but go
yeah,
ahead. We're gonna hit that with Goldo.
yeah, they definitely get special treatment. Even though I was the one that filed, they gave her a state appointed attorney, and I had to pay for mine. But it was the best money that I have ever spent in my whole life. And the situation that I've been in going on 14 years now with my boys, and it's the best money that I've ever spent. So the first thing that I'll tell him, the guy that asked the question, educate yourself. Don't worry about the mother, because she's going to be mad and she's going to make you mad. But as long as you keep educating yourself and put the kids first, if you say that you're going to pick them up on this day, make sure you stay consistent with the schedule that you have with her, because the first thing that the court's going to do is say, how often does he see the kid? Is he consistent? Once she's allowed to get some flaw in your consistency, the court will give her a favor all the time. And that's just
Absolutely.
as a man. That's just as a man.
So, and I want to address this before we head over to Goldo. I want to address this in the sense that it's always better if you can work the situation out outside of the court system, right? Because then now you got the state telling you, and I wonder if that's what Kay meant by until then the state has custody, right? I don't know if you meant the true state has custody or just the fact that now the state is in your business and telling you what you're going to do and not going to do with your child. So it's
Means
always
both.
if you can. Unfortunately, sometimes that's not the situation. And you do need to have the courts intervene. With my ex husband, initially, we had an agreement outside of the court. When we divorced, it was an amicable divorce. And he turned and we agreed on a very loose kind of visitation because we were working with each other. If I had to work extra long a certain night, I'd ask him if he could keep him longer. And we worked it out until a woman arrived in his life. And then all of a sudden that shit changed. There was no more, we couldn't agree on anything. We couldn't do this. It wasn't, and unfortunately at that point when there was no longer communication occurring, that's when I had to then proceed and take it to court. You definitely do, men, you definitely, and women need to know what your rights are as a parent, right? You if you have to take I hate when I hear men say, Shane, let me see my kid. That's bullshit. I'm telling y'all right now, that's a bunch of bullshit because if you wanted to see your kid, there's so many avenues and venues you can go through. And if she doesn't apply and follow what the court stipulates, she can then get in trouble. So
Exactly.
so no, like don't I don't want to hear that. That's you don't want to put in the work. All right? Because it's gonna take work. And we all need to put in that work for our child. And again, that goes back to realizing who you're creating these children with. I know I'm gonna get a lot of shit for this, but I don't care because I've been in both situations, so I get it and I know. But I want to go over to Gordo because this man has custody of his children, and you tell me what your experience was with the court.
Um, well, our breakup started last September 2019. It started with the cops being called. Well, basically, my oldest sister. This is family. My oldest sister called the cops for my baby mother to get me out the house. So when that happened, when the state troopers came, they came to me and spoke to me normally. So I asked them, like, what are y'all doing here? Blah, blah, blah. They're telling me, oh, we came here for domestic violence. And I'm like, domestic violence? I'm like, yo, I was like, did you just see that girl? I was like, go back up there and go check her. I was like, look at my size. Ain't no domestic violence happening over here. You know what I'm saying? Like, my size alone, I will hurt this girl. You know what I mean? So, like I said, I grew up around women, so I'm not here to beat up nobody. And they're talking, and I talked to my oldest son. I'm like, all right, Johnny, go in the house. You know what I mean? I was like, something's about to happen. Because I had a feeling that I was going to get arrested because of my appearance. So he goes in the house, and sure enough, you know what I mean, I get arrested by the state troopers. So once he starts arresting me, my son comes out crying. So when he comes out crying, one of the officers grab him and throw him in the house. So when that happens, that triggered me. You know what I'm saying? So that got me into my primitive stage. Like, yo, y'all not gonna sit here and just touch my kid like that. I'm yelling at my baby mother. I'm yelling at my niece, and I'm yelling at my sister. I'm like, this is what y'all really wanted. You know what I mean? Shit about to get real. So I'm tugging with the officers, and they're trying to take me down. So I'm a big guy. So for three small people to try to put me down, it's gonna be kind of hard. You know what I mean? And then I just hear my son crying in the background, so I just give up. Like, all right, fuck it. You know what I'm saying? If you want to take me to jail, take me to jail. So they put me in the back of the cop car, and she's packing up everything. And I'm like, listen, why is she able to take the kids when I was trying to do the same thing before y'all guys came? So what was the problem? Oh, she said that you don't have a place to go. I said, she's going to my sister's house. You know what I mean? I got a mother and another sister that I could have went to with my kids. You know what I'm saying? Oh, well, she has rights. I have rights too. Like John said, as long as you know your rights, you know what I'm saying? They really can't mess with you. But for them, when you search my name, certain things pop up. You know what I'm saying? And that's my fault growing up. You know what I mean? Being a delinquent, I don't blame nobody but myself. But, you know what I mean? I changed for the better. You know what I mean? Especially for my kids. So for them to do that, I raised my hands up. I was like, all right, do what you got to do. You know what I'm saying? The next day, I went straight to the courthouse to file custody paperwork because I know deep down my kids are better off with me. You know what I'm saying? I took them to doctor's appointments. I did everything like you did, Chrissy. You know what I'm saying? Doctor's appointments, WIC appointments, everything that a mother should have done, I did as a father because she wasn't able to do it. I worked overnights. So, you know what I mean? I have time in the daytime to do everything. We go to court. First, I go to court for the domestic violence charge. She wins the case because she has an attorney, which the court provided for her. It was a battered shelter women's domestic thing lawyer, whatever the case may be. She wins, but as soon as I get into court, I knew I lost because of my appearance. You know what I mean? I got a beard, I got tattoos. You know what I'm saying? I'm educated, but I'm not well educated like the rest. But I've been in the system so long, I know how to talk to a judge. You know what I'm saying? So by you judging me, messed everything up. And she even told the judge he never beat me. I just wanted out of the relationship. So your scapegoat was to just leave the relationship to deal with something else, and you swept me under the rug so you can move forward. And now I got a domestic violence charge on me for verbal harassment. That's on my record now. You know what I'm saying? Like I never been convicted of a felony, but something like that, when that's on your record, there's certain jobs that I can't get because of that. You know what I'm saying? So she kind of like fucked up my life for the past year when it comes to certain jobs I'm trying to get. I got this little non-bullshit, so when I go to interviews, I got to bring this paperwork, I got to bring this document stating that it's only verbal abuse, you know what I'm saying? Which I feel like is kind of stupid, but then I understand what verbal abuse is because I did my research on it, you know what I'm saying? But every relationship isn't perfect. And then when it comes to the custody battle, I stopped smoking weed for my kids because I know my kids, because diapers got involved, so you know what I mean? I stopped everything that I was doing, but she was still doing it. So when we go for drug tests, she's still coming up negative, but I mean, she's still coming up positive, and I'm coming up negative, but you're still giving her the benefit of the doubt. You're taking child support from me, and you know what I mean? I'm asking for 50-50 custody. You don't want to give it to me. But then when I finally get the 50-50 custody where she has 1 week, I have 1 week, she gets upset, so she wants more money. And I'm like, yo, by law, I don't have to pay child support because,
yeah,
you
that's
know what I'm
money.
saying?
Yeah, because it's 50-50.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't have to pay nothing. So what she tried to do was try to like plant stuff. Like if I'm working at a job, she'll come to my job just so the police can come. You know what I'm saying? So I got fired from a few jobs because of that situation, because of the whole restraining order situation. And like I said, it fucked up my stuff financially. And then when it got to getting the custody of the kids, her and her boyfriend, that's a whole nother story. You know what I mean? Luckily, I just got him before it was too late. You know what I'm saying? Because the stuff that was going on, I probably would have went to jail for certain situations, but luckily my kids need me more. So like, you know what I mean? God told me, yo, just, you know what I mean, get your mind right, get your kids. And this lady doesn't need them. And for 9 months now, she hasn't spoken to these kids. She hasn't texted these kids. No happy birthdays, no nothing. And 2 weeks ago, we seen her at the mall, and she actually walked past my son. And my son went to go say mommy, and she just walked like nothing happened with her boyfriend. And that irked me because we go into the store, he starts crying. And he's like, Daddy, is it me? Is it my fault? Nah, it's not your fault. So I broke down. You know, I'm a big guy. Just imagine a big guy crying in the Foot Locker, you know what I'm saying? Because your son thinks that the breakup is because of you. That has nothing to do with you. You know what I'm saying? And that right there just showed me what type of woman she really is. And that's something that I can never respect. You know what I mean? Like I in my head, I always wanted to co-parent, but that situation right there, I see co-parenting never going to work. It's never going to happen because you sat there and just neglected your kids with no problem.
So my belief is, right, the best situation is always to have both parents and both set of grandparents, right? Like that is the most phenomenal situation to be in. Um, and unfortunately, that's not always the case. You know, if you can have that relationship where you're co-parenting well and there's no issues, then that's great. But when it starts becoming toxic to the children, and that was one of the quick questions I was going to ask, how does it affect the children? And I know how it affects my youngest one. And pretty much, Gordo, like you said about your kids, you know, his father decided to walk away 4 years ago, give me sole full custody, not have anything to do with him. His birthday was Thursday, no phone call, nothing. No Christmas calls, nothing, no phone calls, nothing to him. And my son's been in therapy for the last 4 years because those are the questions he asks, right? He doesn't feel like he's good enough. He doesn't feel like he's worthy. He feels like it was his fault on why his father doesn't love him. And these kids, these children are the ones that are affected by these adult relationships. We're adults, right? These are adult relationships, and yet we can't act civil enough for the children. I don't want to put blame on any party, right? Because there's always a little bit that we provide that fuel the fire, right? Because it's that give and take. And until you're in a place where you can just say, all right, I'm not going to let that affect me. I'm not going to let that bother me. I'm not going to let that give me angst or push me or irk me or make me, right? Because everybody has a button, right? Everybody has a button. I don't care what we say. And it could just be the one little word, something, and it triggers us to go off in a different direction. I think it's so important for women to understand that is ideal to have the father in the life, and I think it's important for the fathers to understand it is ideal to have the mothers in their life, and I think it's imperative for everyone to understand that you treat your ex-partner, your the other parent, with respect, love, compassion, empathy, and tolerance, because this is what we're teaching our children, right? This is what our children grow up to be, reflections of us. So I just wanted to add that in there before we headed over to Dwayne. But Dwayne, how were your relationships? Were they amicable? Were you guys able to get through it?
I'm gonna say this: I made a lot of mistakes in the co-parenting part of it. I probably say my first mistake was believing that the other parent was going to be as amicable as I was going to be as fair as I was going to be um, not spiteful as I was. I wasn't spiteful in the relationship. And I'll probably say the other mistake was is that when I decided I was out, I should have been completely out. There was never a time that you can, teeter back and forth because you're thinking about, you're getting back together with, your mate because of the kids. If you ever make up in your mind that you should leave, and that should be it. Um, when you teeter back and forth, person or people that are left in the middle are the kids or the child. So that's one of my mistakes. Another one of my mistakes was that once I was out, I still operated as I was still married. I still
Yes,
operate.
about
My kid's mother had my last name. The school knew us as Mr. and Mrs. Hennett. Their friends knew us as Mr. and Mrs. Hennett. Sometimes I would go over there and do homework and stay late as if I was still a parent that was living in the home. And another mistake is I became a babysitter. Not because that's what I believe that when I have my kids for the weekend or when I have my time, because I never denied when my kids wanted to see me. If my kids called me up on a Friday or Saturday or Sunday and they said they wanted to see me, or if it was my time to see them, I would always say, but my mate, whenever she decided that she wanted to go to the club, I was her first option.
But can
So
you really ever be a babysitter to your own children?
no, you can't. You can't.
Okay.
You can't.
That's,
But you can be used as a babysitter. You can be used as a babysitter, meaning that I have a job like you have a job.
mm-hmm.
My job, my job was let me see, how can I say it? I worked around, being a parent. Like I'd be like, okay, I would tell my boss, I need to leave for 2 hours because I gotta take my son to a doctor's appointment. Where versus her schedule wasn't as rigorous, was more demanding than mine was. That she couldn't just take off. Or if it's like, I want to go out to the club, it became something like that. It was like every weekend. It was like, I'm going to the club this weekend. I need you to keep the kids.
Oh,
Okay. Well, like I said, I'm working this weekend. Well, I'm going to the club, so I need you to keep the kids. I'm working this weekend. Never mind. Just bring the kids. I'll work it out somehow. And I worked it out because, like I said, I never wanted to deny my kids who they were. I mean, not who they were, but as a parent, I never wanted to deny them that I ever want to spend any time with them. So, like I said, I always worked it out. Versus where she wasn't that. She wasn't that. And then
So let
two,
me. I wanna just kind of cut in here, just because I now like I got a bunch of questions. Now we're gonna because now you know that you touching my buttons, right? So now, so I want to ask, right? Like, was it was it your place to care what she was doing as long as the children were safe?
the children were safe with me.
Wait,
Whenever she
John's
brought
making a face. I don't
the
know what that
children,
makes.
the children were safe with me. So if she
Right.
brought them to me, I was the one that was keeping them safe. No, what mattered to me was is that, like I said, I had a job and you had a job. I can I made a you have full custody of the children. Where you're saying that, okay, I got full custody of the children, da da this, da da that. Okay, well, I can make certain arrangements to where I can have the kids on when I'm at work or when I'm working. So I'm not offered that same kind of let me see. I'm not offered that same kind of you. So whenever you want to go out, you can't find a babysitter just like I can find a babysitter when I'm at work.
Okay, so I get what you're saying, but you also have the option of saying no, right? Like you have the
You
option
have
of
an option.
telling her
You
no.
have an option to say no. But like I said, the first part that I said, the first thing I said I made a mistake was don't
Okay.
doubt that
Yeah.
person can be spiteful and that it's going to be amicable.
Yeah.
They're not. Don't
That's
ever
you're
don't ever
right.
doubt
You're
that
right.
part.
You're
Now,
right. You're right.
I'm gonna tell you one. I'm gonna tell you one thing too about that one that goes to my last relationship. And when I say how spiteful she is, like I said, I've been married 4 times. My last marriage before this one, I was in for probably it was a short marriage. It was real brief. It was real brief. So when I had my last child with my now wife, the day that I got out of the hospital, I got a phone call. And it was from my first wife, who I have kids with. And she said, I heard you have a child. I said, yeah, I have a son now. She said, well, she said, because I sent a picture to my daughter to show her what her brother looked like. She calls me and tells me that my son doesn't look like me. That my new son doesn't look like me. And
Yeah.
she tells me that my ex, who I had just divorced, She said she wants you to call her because she wants to get a divorce. I said, why the hell is she calling you? What, y'all have some kind of a secret relationship I don't know about? Why are y'all even talking together?
It was the Hate Dwayne show.
It
That's what
was the
that
hate. It was the hate the Wayne show. It was one of the twins activated.
was.
Um, it was, the Legion of Doom. I mean, I don't know what else to call it, but it was like, what's the purpose of you? First of all, like I said, the mother of my child, she just got out. Like literally, we had just came home that day, dying.
Listen, misery's always gonna find a way to take it to come in and intercede.
True, it is.
Misery's
It is
always gonna.
true.
It doesn't matter who you are. But
It,
John, you have made a face. What was that face for? Like I'm reading the room. What was that face for?
Man, it's a difference between a favor and abuse.
right.
So every now and again, if you need me to keep the kids on an off weekend, I'm cool with that. But because you want to go out 2 weekends in a row, three weeks, that's not my problem. You know
You're
what I'm
right.
saying?
Mhm.
And I've been in those situations where I don't tell my kids that no, you can't come over. I tell the mother, you find somewhere for them to go. I'm busy this weekend. This is not my weekend to have them. So I have declined that. But
You gotta have boundaries.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Because people will cross them, and that's why I say it's the difference between a favor and abuse. Now, you're not going to abuse me. I promise you that. But I don't mind doing a favor for you. You know what I'm saying? Because I've had those times where I'll be working out of town in a whole nother state, and I had to change my whole schedule, and I had to communicate with both of my kids' moms to tell them, look, I can't pick them up on Wednesday, but every time when I come home, I promise to get them.
So I'm gonna tell you what the chick was saying behind the scenes, all right? I don't understand why he can't just take his kids for the weekend. I mean, shit, I got them all week. I do everything. They sick, I'm there. I gotta go food shopping. I gotta cook. I gotta wash the clothes. Why can't I get a damn break to just go out for? I'm just telling
I'm
you
not trying. Hey,
what is said.
I'm not here. I have my kids 50% of the time. So the same groceries that you got to buy is the same groceries that I got to buy.
But that's
The same heat and hot water that you got to provide is the same heat and hot water that I got to provide. So I don't. You got.
no. I'm just telling you, and this is why I wanted to have this conversation, right? Because I want the women to see the other side of it. Because like my slogan, if all you've experienced is all you know, then you're in a deficit of knowledge. So if you're not a man being on the other side of it, you can't understand it, right? You're only understanding from your perspective. And that's why I felt like it was so important to have this show so that we can showcase what the men are feeling, how the men are interpreting the things. And as women, can we sit back, reflect on it, and say, maybe I could do something a little bit different, right? As a woman, period. And let's not be so selfish. But what hold on. We got what? Chrissy, we should have yes,
True.
Kay, we should have.
True.
But I do have a long message here that I want to read. And this is JT Fung. He says, I was raised by a single mom up until I turned 14. And then I moved in with my father, who spent 12 years in prison prior to moving in. I thought I was a man. I soon realized that I wasn't. And I am very grateful to having a father figure. However, I do think it's important for a man to teach a boy how to become a man. My mom couldn't teach me how to be a man. Absolutely. And then he says, empathy, understanding is half the battle. Absolutely.
That's
So what
another. That's
go ahead.
another tough comment right there because some women would take offense to a comment like that and be
No,
like,
I don't.
like I taught my son how to be a man, but I'm like, okay, I'm not trying to take nothing from you, but I just think that men understand men better. And just like with my daughter, she's 10 years old, so she's coming into the age of like she's developing, and it's something that I don't know how to teach, but I allow her mother and whatever her mother needs to filter down to me, then she'll tell me. But I know I can raise my daughter, but I can't tell my daughter how to be a woman. I can only tell my daughter how a man should treat you. That's all I can tell her.
So I will tell you when my son turned 13, I called his father and said, yo, I need you to be more present in his life, teaching him things on how to be a man. And he was like, what you talking about? I said, I only know how to teach him how to be a Latin woman. I don't know how to teach him how to be a black man. I need you to teach him. Like, he was like, I'll send him a book. I was like, my dude, a book? Like, I need you. And now that I have my youngest who's 14 and his dad's not present at all, I just actually put his picture up recently, and I kind of told everybody I actually reconciled with my ex-husband. So we're back together, and he's important. Thank you. It's important. Like, I can teach my son how to shave, right? Because he's got like a whole like, it's like a beard, like the whole everything's there. And he, I'm like, let him, like, let my ex-husband, let him teach you how to shave. Let him show you how to do that, and that's where he's, because can I do it? Yeah, I could do it. But do I think that's a bonding moment for a man and for a
Absolutely.
boy and a father
Absolutely.
figure?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Their
Absolutely.
time to bond. So, I will never get offended by that comment. A man is the only person who could show a boy how to be a man. A woman cannot do that whatsoever. So any woman who thinks that is confused. But Gwendolyn says, okay, so a woman cannot teach a man how to be a man, but you can teach them how to treat a man. So that is teaching him. You can
No,
teach them
it's not the
how.
same.
It's not the same. It's
Not the
definitely
same.
not the same. You can teach them how you believe a man should be. But we don't know what it's like when their balls hit a cold toilet seat. I can't explain that. I don't know what that feeling is like. You know what I mean? Like, there's just things that we don't know, we don't speak the man's language. I don't care how much we think we can, we don't. We don't speak it whatsoever.
I think that comment was more directed at coming from a woman, not necessarily like where she still used teaching, but I think when she's saying teaching, she's more like show how a woman is supposed to treat a man, with the respect, with the courtesy, with the and the trust that she should have with them. I think it's coming from that point versus trying to teach him how to be a man. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I got something to say because like you said, a woman could teach a girl how to become a woman, and a father do the same thing with the male. But sometimes these boys do need their mothers because me as a man, I don't have
That
that
nurture,
motherly
that
instinct
nurture.
to give my kids because because when my son gets hurt, I'm first thing I tell him, shake it off, man
Don't
up.
do
You know
that
what I mean?
no more.
He's so used to being comfort. He's so used to being comforted. Mommy, like, oh, I'm gonna kiss the boo boo and all that other stuff. But I mean, I try my best to comfort him as best as I can as a male perspective because I didn't have that growing up. You know what I'm saying? Like, even though I was raised with women, I never grew up with love. You know what I'm saying? It was just more of a distance. So it was like you have to fend for yourself because mommy has her own issues, my sisters have their own issues. So it's like me trying to evaluate these kids. It's hard because I'm learning how to love myself at the same time I'm trying to love them. You know what I'm saying? With unconditional love. But they still need their mother too because there's certain things that I can't do for these kids that mommy is there for. You know what I'm saying? So if there's a bump in the road, I have nobody to turn to and be like, oh, what should we do? You know what I mean? The yes, no, everything, bad cop, good cop, all that. And it gets frustrating sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm doing everything by myself and I don't have nobody to turn to. I don't have grandparents that I could go to and be like, oh, well, they need this. You know what I'm saying? I got to scoop up the money. You know what I mean? It gets frustrating at a certain point because when I look at these other gentlemen, you know what I'm saying, they're co-parents and, you know what I'm saying, they're at a good space with the children of their mother. And I've been through with what Dwayne's going, what he went through with the whole going out situation. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, at the end of the day, like, when is enough going to be enough? You know what I mean? Because if I blow up, I'm going to be the bad guy, but it's okay for you to do your thing. You know what I'm saying? And you're the woman because women get their way. And we're
But
men
it's
and
not
we don't show our
okay.
feelings.
It's not, but it's
It's
not
not.
okay. Like, I don't want anybody to think that that's okay. Inappropriate behavior is inappropriate behavior on any level, whether it comes from a man or a woman.
But it's hard,
I
I feel like it's hard for a male to open up because, like Dale said, everybody's gonna look at us like we're soft because everybody
Well,
sees as
but
a man.
remember what you just said, that you told your son, get up, man up.
Yeah,
That is what you're perpetuating, right? When you tell him to
but
get up and man up.
but that's what I'm saying. That's why I said before. I'm learning at the same
Yes.
time. You know what I'm saying? Because there's certain, like I
Listen,
said. I have to do that motherly instinct too. You know what I mean? And work
Listen,
both sides.
I told my kid to get up, shake it off. If it ain't hemorrhaging, then we ain't. Like I've done it too, but I've realized that that's not like I'm starting to learn because my son, my youngest, is very sensitive, emotional, and wears his heart on his sleeve. Like he's very I mean, like he's the one who wants to sit down and have a conversation about his feelings. And I'm not used to that. Like that's not me. I'm like, get it done, do this. I don't care. No time, get it done. You know, like that's it. Make moves, shake, let's go. And he's very, but I'm learning, even as a mom, that there has to be some type of loving emotion and being okay with sharing your feelings and emotion. Because there was this meme that I seen going all over Facebook, which was it was the mother yelling at the boy saying, man up, right? Like, man up, stop crying. And then later on, years later, the wife going, why can't you just be sensitive? Right. And that's like just the trickle down effect of all of that. But we have another comment from Gwendolyn. Thank you, Gwendolyn, for watching, by the way. Co parenting means just that. Both are capable of teaching each gender. So you say that a man who never had the support of a father is less than? I think not. No, I don't think so. I don't think that at all. I don't think that a man who doesn't have a father in his life is less than or not a man. I just think that when you have a male in your life teaching you how to be a man, then you're there's just different. You're gonna develop differently. You're
there's a
gonna
there's a deficit. There's a deficit in that. And what I was saying is that it has to be a balance. It has to be a balance between the mother and the father. There's some roles. There are some roles specifically for men, and there are some roles that specifically for women. Like take for instance, like I have a daughter who I'm really close with. She's my second oldest daughter. I'm very close to her, and whereas my son, my oldest son, is very close to his mother. When they were growing up, there were certain things that I could tell my son that I couldn't tell my daughter. Like when she became of age, because she's 20 now, she was going through the whole, becoming a woman, developing this and developing that. I could not go to the store and pick out, women's. Let me see, how can I say this?
feminine
Yes,
lingerie.
feminine products. Feminine products. I couldn't pick those stuff out because I did not know. That is a role specifically suited. But if you educate yourself somewhat of enough, you can, fake it till you make it. I guess as a man, and that's kind of what I did. I went and I asked other women. I went and I asked, I went and I asked other women. I have three sisters, so there was a lot of things that my daughter couldn't come to me and talk to me about. Versus where if she needed to talk, women issues or women things that were going on with her, she couldn't come to me. She had to go to another female to find because that experience is there.
Mhm.
You have a woman who's already lived it. Where if it's a man, there is a man who has lived that experience. And I can tell you right now, there is nothing. And I say this when I don't mean any disrespect. There's nothing that a woman can say what it's like to be a black man, living in a black man, and vice versa. I can't tell you what it's like to be a black woman living in that world and going and living in that world. And I'm trying to tell my daughter that. Now, I can tell my daughter, I can be an example of how a man is supposed to be, and that's how I live my life. Is that I live my life as the best example of a man is what a man's supposed to be. I can't tell her how to be a woman, but I can tell her this is an example. If you think I'm good and you think I'm a good parent or I'm a good father or I'm a good man, do better than me. Find a man or find a mate that's better than me. Find a person that you can communicate that's better than me. That's how I live my life, and that's how I live my examples as far as that. For my son, I want him to know my struggle. I want him to to know that there are going to be pitfalls, that there are going to be hurdles that you're going to have to go through and stuff like that. That his mother can't tell him at all because she's never lived a life as a man. Um,
I agree
when
with
and that's why I say we need balance in both of them, because as a parent, you as a child, you need both sides of it. You need a parent, you need a mother, and you need a father. So whenever there's the people that says I'm a single mom and I'm doing it all by myself, you are, and I commend the women who have done it. like my wife now, she was a single mom. I commend her, and she had two girls, but there are certain things that her daughters needed from her mates as well. She had no, like, them being out of their life. They had no example of what a good man was because their fathers were absent.
Yeah.
So when I came in, like I said, I lived my life just as that. I want to be an example of what a good person or a good man is supposed to be. So you'll have an example of who to pick or what to know. But like I said, it's a balancing act. You need both.
You absolutely do. Um, if she finds a man that cannot do what you do, she needs to send him on. JC says, I'm 26. I was just wondering to four of the guests, to you, what defines a good man? Ooh, this is good. We'll start with Dell, and then we'll go to Dwayne, John, and then Gordon.
Sheesh. For me, it a great man, and of course, it's my perspective, is a man who can be able to lead from his heart. So that's how I feel because I've been on both sides in which I was leading a lot with my mind, a lot of anger. And I resonate so much with what was being told before about telling your son to man up, man up, man up. And Chrissy, synchronistically, my son is just like your son, in which his heart is open. He's a very sensitive kid, very emotional. And when I first, and this was during my transformation, and this is when he was younger, I used to tell him before to man up, like he'll get hurt or whatever. I'm like, man up, man up, man up. But for myself, I started processing my emotions and really getting the okay, that it's okay to like feel these emotions that you're feeling, even though society say it's not okay for a man to feel their emotions. Until when a man lets out their emotions, then it's just, oh, well, why you waited so long? And then so a man that can really lead with his heart and also just be able to take the charge, take the lead, and being able to integrate both sides because both sides are very valuable. The man that like the go getter type of man, but then also the man that can hold that compassionate space for somebody, especially their child. Like now with my son, I let him embrace that. I'm like, that's like motivation for me, like helping me. Like it's great to be able to let out how you feel in the moment. It's not even just for men, adults, women, men, everything. To let your emotions out, how you feel in the moment, compared to like a snowball effect later on, and then you explode. It's so much more valuable to be able to express yourself vulnerably in the moment, and also to be heard and accepted. So that's, I guess, the spirit for me for what makes a great man, and also a man that continues to learn, expand, continue to learn, expand, and accountable. Admit that you fucked up. Admit you're an asshole sometimes. Admit that whatever you did, just admit that shit because
Yeah.
it's okay.
Own
Once
it.
you
If
can
you
admit
don't
it, you can work through it.
Yeah, absolutely. Amen. I love that, Dell. So, Dwayne, what defines a good man for you?
Someone who's accountable, someone who's responsible, someone who's logical, someone who's slow to anger, quick to respond. Um, that's someone who has standards. There are some things that I can tell you that I won't go past, I won't do. Um, when you have when you have someone who has a moral compass,
Yes.
when you have those things, when you have some kind of integrity that's in your life, and you have some kind of standards, and you have some kind of moral compass, those are some things that you know that you won't do, or you won't go past, or you won't take. And you have some accountability, and it means you take responsibility for the things that you've done. Like Dale said, admit that you've been an asshole, admit that you've been a jerk. Sometimes my wife has to tell me I have my jerk hat on today. Sometimes I wear it. Sometimes I wear it proudly. Sometimes I wear it to the side. Sometimes I turn it backwards. Sometimes I do. Sometimes
How
I
do
have
you?
my jerk hat on. Yeah, I do. But you know, but like I said, that goes into the part of you know, knowing who you are as a man, and when you become that person when you become a man, know who you are and own it. And
Absolutely.
own who you are as a man. Don't let nobody tell you that anything any different. It's okay to show emotions. It's okay to own it. It's okay to be more in touch with it. I have two sons, and they're more different than night and day. I can tell my youngest son to, I don't have to tell him to shake it off. I've seen this dude fall off a chair and jump right up and say, "I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm okay." And I've seen my oldest son become emotional because he's been I don't want to say it, I don't want the perception to be like this, but my son, because of how sick he was more close to his mother because he was always sick. My oldest son has had, I'll probably say, about 4 surgeries, 2 on his eyes, and that was all within 5 years of him being born.
Wow.
So he was very close to his mother because she was always the nurturer. And it's not that I wasn't a nurturer, but it was some things that she was better at. And like I said, there's two roles that we play. She was better at being a nurturer part of that part of it than I was. Not that I wasn't, because I'm very affectionate. I'm very affectionate with my kids.
Get
I'm
it.
very
And
affectionate with my kids. I love my kids to death. There isn't anything that I wouldn't do for them. But like I said, there's two roles that we play as parents. Depending on the gender, some of them are better than others.
now I don't want listen, I agree with you 1,000% with that before we head over to John. I agree with you 1,000% with that. I don't disagree with it, but you're gonna find a lot of people who disagree with it.
About
Because
what part?
when we start giving gender specific roles, people start to get upset about that, but it's just innately true, right? It's just what it is and has been proven generation after generation, century after century, that just there are certain gender roles when it comes to parenting. Not saying that a mother couldn't be more stern or that a father couldn't be more loving or that they're not. It's just kind of that's just the way it's set up. Like, and I don't have a reason or answer on why it's set up that way. It just kind of is. So
Nature. It's nature.
yeah, well, I'm gonna get a lot of backlash for that,
Yeah.
but but I speak my mind. It is what it is. But John, what for you defines a good man?
I mean, not to keep repeating the verbiage because Dale and Dwayne actually led off very well with their responses. So I mean, my mind probably gonna be a little short, but like they said, accountability, self aware, integrity, standing on your word, being able to hold your ground, consistency, being able to be trustworthy, just like everything that they already mentioned. You know what I'm saying? It just comes with the territory. Being able to show emotion. Like my sons have seen me cry. And I've seen my son in a vulnerable moment where they started crying and I let them have their moment. You know what I'm saying? Whatever they need. Yeah, I walk up to them. Sometimes I walk up to my son, just grab him, kiss him on the forehead, like, I love y'all. You know what I'm saying? Just out of nowhere. And they love that because that keeps our line of communication open. And I need it to always be like that from their birth until however long I'm here. But my number one goal of being father is making sure that my line of communication is always open with my kids. So that right there is, to me, is the definition of a good man.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. So listen, I know Gordo, you didn't answer it, but I'm sure you're gonna be saying the same thing. We hold on one second. Let me unmute you. Wait, we keep going back. You trying to unmute? You you unmute yourself. Instead of, because I know it's probably gonna be exactly the same thing. And for me, just the fact that you for your children and you have them is the epitome of a good man, the definition of a good man. So I
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
for
Thank
that.
you, thank you.
So we're gonna wrap this up. We're gonna end this. I knew we were gonna go a little bit past our hour. We can still go even longer. I know if we wanted to, everybody can delve deep into personal situations. But I want to go around the room. We'll start with Gordo, and then John, and then Dell, and then Dwayne. And parting that what I would like for you to do is give us some parting knowledge and information, right? Based on the subject matter. And then any kind of media, anything like that that you we can follow you. and reach out to you, anything that you would like to promote, anything like that. And so we'll go around the room. We'll start with you, Gorgo. So let us know
Um,
any wisdom you have for us pertaining to
my
this.
thing, my thing right now is if there's any male that's going through any custody battles, just never give up. You know what I'm saying? Any father, if you really want to be in your kids' lives, you'll do everything and beyond to be in your kids' lives. A weak man that's not in their kids' lives is a nobody to me. You know what I'm saying? And I got plenty of friends that don't see their kids, but they go out every day. You know what I'm saying? But when it's social media, they'll take pictures like, oh, they father of the year. I don't respect that. And I'm the one that will tell you straight up, my man, be in your kids' lives. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm in my kids' lives. I want you in your kids' lives. And if I can't uplift you like that, then we don't need to be around each other because our energy is not going to match. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, just if you're going through whatever, man, just speak up to people. Just call somebody, you know what I'm saying? Tell them that you're going through something because at this time now, this generation, there's a lot of depression, a lot of suicides, a lot of things that men are scared to speak up about. You know what I mean? And they're scared to call the next man to be like, yo, I need somebody to talk to. You know what I'm saying? It's always good to reach out to somebody because you never know what somebody's going through mentally. You know what I mean? And it's a struggle. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Especially being like myself. Like myself, I usually call a couple of my friends because I go through my own depressions. You know what I mean? And sometimes I just need to speak to somebody like, yo, man, like I'm going through this. Talk to me. You know what I mean? But other than that, I had a pleasure talking to you gentlemen. Thank you, Chrissy, for having me on the show. Yeah, if you want to follow my Instagram, you know what I'm saying? It's King underscore Gordo underscore 360. You know what I mean? You can on Facebook, Long Live Gordo. You know what I mean? On Snapchat, anything. King Gordo 360. That's me.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being. Don't go nowhere. Everybody, just stay on.
No
But
problem. No problem.
thank you so much for being on. Thank you for sharing your story with us. I can tell you with me doing it here alone with an older kid that can do it on his own, the remote learning and COVID and home and working at night because I work night shifts too. Like I feel you, bro. Like I definitely feel you and I appreciate you. I know your children appreciate you. And just like you offered, for people to go out and talk, whatever, I'm always a phone call away too, bro.
Thank
I
you.
like
Thank you.
that doesn't. So move on to John. So what bit of information can like any knowledge you want to shine on us, and then where can we find you?
Man, just men educate, 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 educate yourself. Like the phrase goes, you know what I'm saying, you are the company that you keep. So the good thing about the company that I keep is that none of the guys that I hang around with are deadbeats. All of us, and we all come from different backgrounds. I grew up in the house with both my parents, but the majority of the guys that I hang with didn't grow up in the house with a father, but they still turned out to be upstanding fathers, and are very active in their kids' lives. So I feel you go to with that. Like if you can't be around me, man, if you're a Debbie, because I don't like the energy. The energy ain't gonna match because I'm gonna constantly be looking at you, probably judging. Because I'm like, man, I see you. You shoot your feet looking good. How your son doing? And you talking about I ain't seen him, but now you got them $150 shoes on your feet. So you know what I'm saying. I just can't mix with guys like that. So I am blessed with the circle that I keep and people that I have around me. So I'm John John. You can find me at John John on Facebook. You can follow my production company, Days Productions on Facebook. I do podcasts, movies. I stream sporting events. You can also find me on Instagram at Days Productions and on YouTube at Days Network Productions. So go follow your boy. Thank you for
Yep.
having me, Chrissy. I appreciate it.
No, thank you so much for being on. And you need to send me those links so I could post them up.
I sure will.
We'll take it down to Dell. What kind of knowledge can you give our viewers? And then where can we find you?
Yeah, this was a great conversation.
We can
And
keep
here, yeah,
going.
yeah, we could.
We need
And
sleep.
just hearing, and like I mentioned to you, Chris, before the show, I was interested and excited to this hear other fathers and their situations and what they went through and how they was able to overcome them. I already know Gordo's story, and like I salute him. He's like you said, the epitome of like what a father is supposed to do is like show up for their child no matter what comes your way, and to keep doing that. And that's on both sides for the parents as well. But to go even back even more is the fact of a lot of us, or I would say all of us, we have a lot of pain in our life in situations, and moments like this, it really shows you like exactly like people are dealing with shit, dealing with their own stuff, especially if you don't want to like show up for somebody you help co-create and get and bring into this world, like a child, epitome, your legacy. You have to be going through a lot of shit to deny something so pure and innocent. And my advice is for everyone is like find a way to deal with your shit in whatever way possible. Therapy, coaching, religion, whatever you need to do to really come to peace with yourself, because that will help you come to peace with that other person that this breakup may have happened in the relationship, and hopefully potentially some type of co-parenting can happen. But even if it doesn't, you have such a place of peace and this gratitude that you're okay with that, and you're just showing up differently. But it's really about just letting that go, let it go, and really just working through what we need to work through. And there's spaces all over. I'm grateful I'm part of a space for men to be vulnerable, like these type of conversation we share, like what's going on. And if you're looking to find me on Facebook, my name is Del Henderson. On IG, it's True Essence Connection, and my website is www.trueessenceconnection.com.
And that is actually posted on my Chrissy Cipher page, the Cipher Knowledge with Chrissy page. It is there, but I will reshare that link. All right. So thank you, Del, so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. Much love, much love. Love your energy. I love it. I've always loved it. So
Likewise.
Dwayne, so give us some parting knowledge and then tell us where we can find you.
Okay, so I'm gonna drop some real knowledge for you guys. The whatever your relationship is with your mate or your ex-mate or your person that you're co-parenting with, it shouldn't affect your relationship that you have with your child. You, when it comes to your relationship that you have with your child or children, you show up and you show out. Children have enough difficulties in the world where they don't need, two parents battling back and forth. If it can be amicable, they'll let it be amicable. If it's stress, don't worry about it. You do your best to be the best kind of father that you are. Boy or girl, show up and show out. Now, drop some real knowledge on you guys. So, for the men inside there who are fathers or who are going to be fathers, little education. If you sign a birth certificate, you are financially responsible for that child. Whether you are married or divorced, or it turns out not to be your child, you are financially responsible for that child. Visitation and child support are not the same thing.
Nope.
And visitation and child support are not set up for you as a man. It is set up for the woman in that case. And the best thing I've ever done, I probably say, that kept me, from, going away or being locked up, was putting myself on child support. I don't have to worry about it, paying someone else. It comes out of my check every time, every week. I don't have to worry about it. But it's a joke on both sides, because sometimes, depending on what state you're in, what county you're in, it could be where the mother is getting as little as, $10 or $5 for child support, depending on how many children that the man has. And it can be a joke on the parent, on the father's side, because no matter what kind of child support you pay, how much you pay, they still view you as a deadbeat, because there are, for every good father that pays child support, there's 50 deadbeat that comes before you. They see you as a deadbeat as soon as you come in there. So it's a joke. But like I said, I don't have to worry about it. It comes out of my check. So for you guys that's out there who are fathers, who are going to be fathers, that bit of information. Become just like John said, educate yourself. know your rights. Just like Gordo said, know your rights, know what you can do, know everything about being a parent when it comes time to separate. Because, like I said, don't expect for someone to be, just as nice as you are as they aren't.
Absolutely. And where can we find you? Everybody dropping some knowledge
Oh, I'm
bombs.
sorry. Sometimes you can find me on Cipher Knowledge, but I
Yes.
don't know about season 2 because Chrissy's all booked up. But you can find my book on Amazon. You can find me on Facebook at C. Dwayne Hennett. You can find me on Instagram at C. Dwayne Hennett. And my website, C. Dwayne Hennett as well. Be on the lookout for other speaking events that I have. I do professional speaking. Like I said, I'm the chairperson for a nonprofit. It's called Breaking the Silence on Domestic Violence. That's out of Greenville, North Carolina. The executive director is Vernita Hill. Thank you so much, Vernita. Yeah, that's about it.
Awesome. Listen, guys, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show, sharing everything that you just being so open and honest. We definitely need to set up a part 2 and get into like the nitty gritty, like the deep down ugly stuff that I'm probably going to be like thrown out of the women's club for.
Let
But
Kate host it with you.
yes, I should have someone else there with me. Definitely. So I just want to thank you guys again. And I want to clarify something because it was kind of confusing. I said I reconciled with my ex-husband, my second ex-husband, not the first one, not the douchebag. So no, that's not the one that walked away from his kid. No, that one would never get a second chance ever whatsoever in his life. But listen, I want you guys to go over to YouTube, 2M1L Media, subscribe, like, share, hit the notification button if you liked anything that you saw here. Because starting January 2021, the only place you're going to see Cipher knowledge around the turnbuckle, home team sports and entertainment, and spinning with Spitter is on 2M1L Media over on YouTube. Um, I will part with you what I always part with all my guests at the end of the night, which is if all you've experienced is all you know, you are in a deficit of knowledge. And that goes back to my whole 5 mile radius thinking, right? If you don't experience it, if you don't know it, then it doesn't exist. But here we are talking about things that some people didn't think existed, and it does. It's out there, it's real. So again, gentlemen, thank you so much. Stay on. Don't part from us after this is over. Stay right there. Make sure you tune in next week is the last show for season 1. And then I will be taking 1 week's break and coming back the top of January with season 2, episode 1. And again, that will be on YouTube only. So like I said, go like, subscribe, hit the notification button. And on that note, one love.